Welcome to another episode of A Cuppa with the Conversationalist. My name is Con and I am the Conversationalist. And yes, I have my latte in tow. My guest today is Daniel Marshall, financial coach. How are you, Daniel?
I'm fantastic, Con. Thanks for having me on, mate. How are you?
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Just a little bit of background on Daniel. After working in the steel and mining industry as a mechanical engineer for 10 plus years, Daniel decided to take a leap of faith and follow his passion. Combined with his love for personal development and personal finances, he created his dream career. Daniel is now a financial coach, speaker, and online entrepreneur who works with millennials to help them build habits that will set them up for long-term financial success. Daniel, again, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me here, Con. I feel honoured to be on the program.
Good on you, mate. Good on you. Daniel, I guess the first question, just to give our listeners some context on your journey, mech engineer for 10 years. Now, I know mechanical engineers don't make an absolute, squillion, but they do okay. And particularly when you've been in the industry for some time. What prompted or motivated the change for you to leave what was, or I believe what would be a significantly financially secure industry job pay to go into the coaching arena?
Yeah, it's a great question, Con, and that was very hard to give it up. But I guess just some background is, so I grew up in Whyalla in the steel and mining industry. I was there for 20 years, from 10 to age 30. And I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school. Like, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I honestly kind of just wanted to be a rock star. I played in heavy metal bands, played electric guitar. Yeah, that's what I wanted to be. But obviously, that wasn't quite the career choice then. So my parents encouraged me to go for these. They were called cadetships for engineers in Whyalla at the steelworks. And they're kind of like an apprenticeship, but for an engineer. And because I was really good at maths, like I've always been strong in maths, my parents said, hey, give this a crack, give it a go. And I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. So I was like, all right, I would listen to my parents. And I just kind of fell into this mechanical engineering cadetship somehow. But to be honest, Con, I don't have a mechanical bone in my body. And it was very challenging for me, especially in the early years. I was young, I just wanted to drink and to party, and I wasn't very studious in my early 20s and late teens.
Hey, you're not alone there, I don't think.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so. But it was never for me, Con.
Yeah.
Like I always knew deep in me, like I wasn't a mechanical engineer. I never felt passionate about it. I never felt connected to it. It was just something to do.
So how then financial coaching? I mean, okay, you're doing mech engineering, you're not absolutely loving it, and I get that.
Yeah.
What guided you to the path of becoming a financial coach?
Yeah, well, probably the first significant thing that happened for me was when I was 24. My mum gave me the book, The Barefoot Investor. And I'd never read a book fully until that book. Something just about it really grabbed me. And I think because I'm mathematically minded, some concepts in there grabs me, particularly compound interest. That's when I really learned about compound interest. And straight away, the light bulb went off in my head. And I could see that this was one of the secrets to doing well financially. And for the first time, I felt like I had some hope. And I think most people really struggle to understand compound interest because it's exponential. It's not linear. But for me, with my maths brain, I feel like I could grasp the concept very quickly. And I probably learned it back in school, but I'd never seen it in this context.
Yeah, we definitely learnt it in maths at school. Even I can vouch for that. But I, like you, I didn't follow it along too well either.
That's it. So, but when it was applied to the money and stuff, and I'd always been a good saver. Even thinking back, I think when you're a kid, like a lot of your gifts are revealed to you when you're a child. And if I look back, I enjoyed things like just stacking coins on top of each other and doing my little banking at the Bank SA, putting it in the little cards that we used to do. So there's some signs from back when I was young, but I basically read the book, Con, and I just got absorbed with personal finance and investing, particularly the stock market. I just grabbed all the books that I could and I just started reading. And in 2015, December 2015, that's when I first bought my first stocks in the stock market. And that kind of began my investing journey. And from that, my love for reading personal finance and money books, it led me to go down the personal development path as well, because I was reading all these books which naturally kind of went to personal development, books like Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within. And that's how it started to kind of go to this new path. And this fella came to Whyalla where I was living, a guy called Mike Campbell, who's a man coach. He's a great fella. And he ran a seminar in Whyalla, and we caught up afterwards. And he became my first ever personal development coach when I was probably about 26, I'd say. I reckon I was 26, 27. And that started to really change my life. I was working on myself for the first time in that kind of context with a mentor or with a coach. And everything in my life just started to change. Like my relationship with my partner, Casey, at the time. Well, she's still my partner. She's my wife now.
Well, careful.
Yeah, that's right. She's my wife now. That started to improve. I was noticing, like, one of the quotes that he told me early on was, "A rising tide rises all the ships." It's always stuck with me. And I noticed as I started to work on myself, everyone else around me started to lift as well when things started to change. My relationship started to change. And that's what kind of got me thinking that, hey, maybe this coaching thing could be a path for me, because people had always come to me for help in my life, whether it was with maths homework, in uni, in the gym. Like, people would always naturally just come to me for help. And that's when I just started following the science, like, of my passions and what I was good at.
Yeah.
And one day, I was literally sitting at work, still not really happy with my engineering career, just Googling coaching courses. And I just came across this one in Melbourne called the Coaching Institute. And it really appealed to me. I loved that they taught business and the actual skill set of coaching. And I pretty much signed up with them to a 3-month course to become a professional life and business coach. And that's when it really started to
really
move into this. Yeah, that's it.
It was interesting what you said earlier about what we learned in school, and we didn't really pay attention to it, probably because of our mindset at the time.
Yeah.
But in the way that it's explained as well. I mean, the concepts of compound interest weren't necessarily explained in financial terms and wealth building. And so my journey is very, very different to yours in terms of, I wish my parents had have given me the Barefoot Investor, and I wish it had have existed back in those days. But one of the biggest things that Scott Pate, the Barefoot Investor, does say, he's quite strong about financial literacy, particularly in schools, or the lack of financial literacy in schools.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a big lack of it. I'm not sure. And to be honest, I don't know what the current school system is like in that space. I can't really comment on it, but I definitely know when I was growing up, maybe you were taught a little bit of things about accounting and finance and stuff in high school, but general just personal finance, you just didn't really learn it. And it really comes down to what your parents teach you when it comes to money. Like, that's what we've relied on. And unfortunately, all of our money blueprints, our habits and our thinking around money, it's formed from our parents and how they are with money. So if our parents aren't very good with it, then we're going to be, we're not really set up for success. And that's why the work I do is really important to change the next generation too. But I feel definitely in the school system, if it was programmed into us in school, like, it would set us up for success. But, it's not right now. I don't believe it is.
Well, I can tell you categorically that I've got friends who have either got children or grandchildren in school, and there is nothing significant in the way of financial literacy taught. And we're talking about the basics of, balancing your checkbook, not spending, it's a really simple equation. If you spend more than you earn, equals trouble. Yep. And simple philosophies. And I think moving on from that, one of the things that I've made, I wish you had have existed for me 40 years ago. I've made financial decisions and catastrophes of biblical proportions. I'm talking bigger than Ben-Hur. But the thing here is that I see, and I don't know how we fix it, things like buy now, pay later. And for the millennials, this instant gratification.
Yes.
Like the concept of buying clothes, getting them, but having to pay for them over a period of time.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I'm with you, Con. The concept itself, it's so foreign to me, and how I'm programmed from my parents. It's foreign and it's dangerous.
How do we educate people? I know there's no magic pill and there's no quick fix, but like when people come to you with things like that, what do you say to them?
Well, I mean, I think one way, going back to how do we educate people, maybe in the school curriculum, if they put there's one really good book I'm thinking of, The Richest Man in Babylon. I don't know if you've ever read it before.
I have indeed. Great book.
Great book. Very small, but it just, the way it teaches some core wealth and money philosophies. I think if that was in the school curriculum, that just teaches so many lessons. So I think that's one way to solve the problem at scale, for sure.
And it's a very easy book to consume as well, because it is small.
It is very small.
So I see more value in reading The Richest Man in Babylon as opposed To Kill a Mockingbird. Not that I wasn't a fan of To Kill a Mockingbird, but hey, we won't go there.
Yeah. But back to your buy now, pay now, later. It's the microwave mindset these days. Everyone wants everything right now, and that's such a big problem. It's not just money. It's food, it's movies. Everything is just, we can have it right now. But it's one of the greatest skills that we must learn in financial education and, building wealth is delayed gratification. And the buy now, pay later system, it just totally goes against that as well. And
mate, it's wrong on many levels. But it's financial institutions. They'll always invent product to get consumers who don't have the financial education. And you and I are never going to change that.
Daniel, and just on that as well, just to add, it's just, I think the way to really change it is we have to make a conscious decision ourselves that we're going to change. And I feel like going back to that quote that I said before, the rising tide rises all the ships, that like if you work on it, and then if I work on it, and then, now I've got a son now, like if I teach my son, then, it's the ripple effect. So I feel like that's the best way to do it, because it really is programming, it's conditioning. And these people that are on the buy now, pay later, it's probably, they've learned this probably from their parents or other people around them as well. It's just, it's normal for them. It might not be normal for us, but it's normal for them.
It's normal for them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Daniel, I follow your content intently and admire what you do. The clients or your clients that are coming to you, what are you seeing? Are they coming to you because they've developed a level of awareness that they need to get financially educated, or are they coming to you when they're in trouble?
It's been a bit of a mix over my journey. So I've been in the game about nearly 4 years now. But to be honest, I don't really deal with people that are in real financial hardship. Like that's probably more the role of a financial counselor, I would say, where people in really bad financial hardship. A lot of the people I work with, they earn a good income, but they don't really have much to show for it, and they just haven't learnt the thinking behind money, the behavior around money to really set them up for long-term success. So actually, a lot of people are, they're quite ambitious, they're doing quite well in other areas of life, but they haven't been able to, or they just haven't learnt the financial literacy and the skill set to do well. So that's why they come to me for help.
Okay. So it's a level of awareness. So, and again, when I mentioned about people coming to you in trouble, I didn't necessarily mean people who have got serious financial issues go to a counselor, but they've worked out that, hang on, I'm earning 100 grand a year and I can't save $5. Something isn't quite right here.
Big time.
And so looking for that. So just go back to a couple of things you just said about mindset and habits. Tell us a little bit more, extrapolate a little bit for the listeners.
Okay. I love this. I've actually got a book right in front of me, Con. So I've recently
and I'd just like to interrupt there, Daniel. For the viewers and listeners, when you do see this video, this was not orchestrated. This is actually just happening as we speak. Go ahead.
That's it. Okay. So, Con, I've got this. It's a recent product I've created, which is my 21-day Fix Your Finances Challenge. And it's a really low-cost offer, but the purpose of this is to help people build great habits. And if I just flick to a page, a couple of the things that I'm helping people build during this challenge, Con, is number one, I'm getting them to track their income and expenses every single day by hand for personal and business finances. And I've just found with this, it just brings so much conscious awareness to people's spending habits. Just writing this down. And the thing is, it actually stops people from buying things that they might have before. So I've already found that it's stopping people from impulse buying just by doing this little habit.
Wow.
And the second part of it, which is a bit more intangible, but it's, I've recorded an audio that they listen to each day where I'm planting really good seeds into their mind every day about wealth building and being successful with money and other parts of life. But a few of the other key ones here, kind of, which, I'm getting them to build is daily gratitude, writing down 3 things that you're grateful for each morning, because when you're in a state of gratitude, good things happen to you, more money flows to you. A lot of great things happen in life. And a lot of people haven't built that practice. Before I learned about it, I didn't really know about gratitude, but it's very powerful. The next one I get them to build, Con, is writing down their most important goal every single day. And then again, this goes back to, but basically the secret to success is you become what you think about. That's what he says in his audio. So I get them to write their most important goal down every day, because when they write it down each day, they're connecting with it. They're focusing on it. And simply by writing it down, actually, I've got to say this, Con. I didn't used to take goal setting seriously. And then one of the guys you just mentioned, Jack Canfield, I read his book, The Success Principles. After The Barefoot Investor, that was the second most impactful book of my life. And in that book, Con, I remember a study, and it said the people who write down and regularly review their goals earn 9 times more over their lives than those who don't. And when I read that, that hit me. And that's when I started taking goal setting seriously.
Jack Canfield, I actually had the absolute pleasure of attending his signature event, which is Breakthrough to Success in Scottsdale, Arizona, about 10 years ago. And that was 3 days of really, really intense stuff. Daniel, one of the things that we mentioned in your introduction here is online entrepreneur. Now, we've got Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, more social platforms than you can poke a stick at. And if I got $1 for every time someone's head popped up and said, you can make a fortune, online, and it's easy. And if you're dumb and lazy, just do this and you'll make money. It's not that easy. You and I both know it's not that easy. However, there are people who are, without question, making a sustainable passive income. What are you seeing? What recommendations do you have? So when your clients come to you and they're looking to build that passive income, right? Where are you guiding them? What directions?
Yeah, passive income's a bit of a hot buzzword of like the last 6 or 12 months. And a lot of people think there's just some passive income fairy that you just go, oh, I want some passive income, and the fairy comes and just gives it to you.
Yeah, load me up.
Yeah, that's honestly a lot of the thinking, and people think that, like, that's been my experience. But the truth is, passive income is built through active income. You don't just get passive income. You've got to, with whatever service you give, whether it's in a job, whether it's as a coach or whatever business you're in, you've got to be creating something of value first to create income, and then you move that into a digital asset or a physical asset like property or shares to create the passive income. But that comes after the hard work. So you've got to build something, and then you get to experience the rewards. But it doesn't just pop up in your lap from some passive income fairy like some people think.
I was just going to say, there's definitely no passive income fairy. Okay. What you're saying is that, first of all, you've got to create a sustainable model where you're providing a level of service, which is generating your revenue. And then you're taking that and divesting it in other areas to produce that passive income, whether it's rental income, share income, and so on.
Yeah, that's it. Like if I just kind of talk a bit of my kind of journey, like obviously I was an engineer before, I was earning active income as an engineer. And with income, I guess there's 3 types. So there's active income, which is earned income. There's residual income or reoccurring income, which is basically building something once and getting paid for it again. And then there's the passive income, which is more directly from, property or shares type thing. But like, if I look at me, for an example, like when I started my financial coaching business, it was a bit of a side hustle, an online side hustle, because it's all online for me. So I was using some of my knowledge and skill sets and experience to create value on my own. And I was doing that through online. So I was basically creating my own service and selling it online through Facebook, email, Instagram. And then by doing this again and again and again, I've been able to kind of create systems and digitize it a little bit. So for example, that challenge I just spoke about, through all the knowledge that I've learned over the years, I've been able to create a digital product where I've built something once, but I can get paid for it again and again and again. And this money that I earn from my coaching business or any other income, then I move that into passive, like traditional passive streams like property or stocks, for example.
Okay. All right. Distinction. So another thing that I just picked up on that you mentioned about side hustle. Now, we currently are, I guess, in the grip of this inflation fear. Interest rates are going through the roof. There's so many people statistically that are already in fixed low interest loans that are about to mature and move over into the variable rate. And some of these loans are going to go from 1.5 to 6. Now that's going to create a significant amount of stress. On top of that, we've got cost of living. For those of you that follow me on social media, I posted a wonderful email I got from my electricity provider, which told me my electricity rates were going to go up 34% from July 1. Needless to say that I've changed service provider. Thank you, AGL, for nothing. Now, what can families or indeed individuals do, right, to look at side hustles, something that they can do to create an additional income stream to supplement, to help the household? What recommendations, suggestions have you got?
Well, it's almost a must in today's age. I think relying on one source of income is relying on one step of income is basically one step away from poverty. Like it really is these days.
Wow.
Yeah, it's especially if you have no savings or emergency fund. But the thing is, because a lot of times people are always playing, like I like to say with money, it's to win the football championship with money, you've got to have a strong offense and a strong defense. So a lot of times people just play defense. They're always just trying to save here, save there, get the lowest rate, which is cool, but you can only cut back so much and play so much defense. And this is where the side hustle, it's a bit of an offensive strategy. It's about creating another income stream. But one of the biggest problems, Con, which I want to share, is most people go into a side hustle focusing on the money. Well, they go into any job or career focusing on the money. And I feel like that's one of the biggest problems, because what I've learned is that money is a byproduct of value and service. And so if it comes to starting some type of side hustle, my biggest recommendation would be find something that kind of you're drawn to, that you're inclined to want to do, that you're a bit passionate about, so that it's not so much about the money, but the money will come because you want to do this and you're going to start creating value and service in some way, and the money will follow. Because a lot of the times people jump into different side hustles with the money, thinking of the money. But the thing is, like anything, the money doesn't come straight away, and you've got to develop skills. It takes time. And most people, if they're only focused on the money, they'll give up and quit just way too soon.
Well, I'm devastated, Daniel, because I saw a guy on TikTok today tell me that I can make, with drop shipping, I can make $500 a day just being stupid, fat, and lazy. So you've really upset me now. Daniel, look, and that's something that I learnt from Jack Canfield as well, and no doubt you would have in the Success Principles. Money is indeed a byproduct of providing value. And I liken the analogy when I'm talking to my clients is chasing something, you always push it further away, and doing things rather than chasing, then it creates certainly a different mindset. So
yeah, and kind of just one last thing to add to that point as well. It's so true about chasing things. It's more, becoming wealthy. It's about it's your being. It's you become wealthy in your mind and in your personality well before the material money starts to come. So it's like, I honestly believe the best hedge against inflation, which Warren Buffett has also said, is investing in yourself and becoming more valuable. And if you do that, the money will be the byproduct, and that will come.
And gratuitous plug here, Warren Buffett, one of the things that he says is the best money that he ever spent on personal development, his best investment was his $100 Carnegie course of speaking in public speaking coaching. And he still proudly displays his little certificate in his office, even at his age. So there's no doubt the benefits of learning to speak in public. There's a gratuitous plug for me. Daniel, let's talk about where do we start? Okay, we've come to you and give our listeners your 5 key tips here.
Oh, my 5 key tips.
Where do we start? And I just want to preface this. Mindset has come up a lot.
Yes.
And what I learnt recently was either 95 or 98% of major prize lottery winners are broke within 1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
So get that around your heads, listeners. 90, call it 5 for the math, percent of major prize winners are broke within 1 to 2 years. Now, if that doesn't go to mindset and financial literacy, I don't know what does. So, Daniel, help us out. Why is mindset so important?
Mindset is so important because mindset controls everything. So, Tony Robbins says it best. He says money is 80% psychology and 20% mechanics, which basically means you can have all the best systems and structures in the world to make money, manage money, and multiply money. But if your thinking's not in the right place, it won't help you. And this is why the people who win the lotto, because their thinking's not in the right place, this extra money, it's not going to help them because they've still got their old program, they've still got their old conditioning. So the mindset, it's obviously number 1, having the conscious awareness of what's possible. But number 2, it's about reprogramming your subconscious mind, because we all have money blueprints from our parents that are running behind the scenes. And unfortunately, a lot of us are set to broke, or set to poverty, or set to struggle, or set to not have anything in the bank. So when that money comes, we're just going to naturally over time go back to our setting. It's just like a thermostat in your house. You're naturally going to go back to where you're set if you don't reprogram it.
Okay. And what's a strategy to do that reprogramming?
You need the awareness first. So something that I do with my clients, or when I'm running seminars and that, is, you've got a financial thermostat for how much money you make and how much you have saved. And I'll literally just draw a visual there of like a ceiling. So you've got your ceilings for your savings, your floor, and there's kind of in between. And the floor is basically the floor of your financial thermostat for how much you have saved. So it could be, just for example, like if you've got $500 sitting in your savings account, and that's when you start to feel really scarce, you start to feel fearful, like, oh, I need to go make some money or something. That's like the bottom of your thermostat. And then the top could be, say, $10,000. And that's when you're feeling really abundant, really free, and you start spending freely. But generally, when it gets to that point, an expense will come, or you'll blow it on something, and then you start to just kind of hover between this floor and the ceiling. So I think having the awareness of where you're set first is probably the first step.
You talk about this thermostat where people will earn a certain amount of money and they'll self-sabotage, in essence, to bring them back to where that ceiling is, whether it's they'll, buy stupid stuff or do dumb stuff. And so they'll come back to whatever level they've. So
100%.
Affirmations are certainly something that I teach in public speaking. And ultimately, whether it's about public speaking, whether it's about money, it doesn't matter what it's about. The 2 most powerful words in the English language are I am.
Yes. And
we know what precedes that basically sets who we are, what our beliefs are, ultimately what our actions are, ultimately what the results are, and then just reinforces and goes around. And so what do you tell your students, clients, in terms of affirmations? Give us a little bit of insight there.
Yeah, I'm very big on that as well. Kind of myself, even just before, like I do meditations myself, where I literally anchor myself and I'm beating my chest, saying my I am statements to building this new identity. But going back to the habits that I get them to build when they're writing their most important goal, and this is I've kind of picked up from Bob Proctor and others. It's I say, I, Daniel George Marshall, am so happy and grateful now that, and I always get them to start off their goals and statements with that sentence. So it could be, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm earning XYZ amount or more per month. XYZ. So I'm very big on the I am statements. And in my audio that I've got for this program, I get them to say it out loud, repeat after me. I allow money to effortlessly flow into my life. I am a master at managing and growing my money. Things like that, for example, they repeat them back out loud.
So what do you say to people when they go, well, Daniel, when you tell me that money comes effortlessly to me, mate, I've got to tell you, I got $1.27 in the bank and money isn't coming to me effortlessly. So how do you tell people, or how do you explain it to them in terms of, I guess, their current reality, i.e. broke, as opposed to this reality that they're trying to convince themselves of?
Yeah, you've got to take baby steps, because if the I am statement's a bit too much of a stretch, then it can be too much of a stretch sometimes, and we're just going to kind of reject it. We're going to consciously kind of say it, but subconsciously or unconsciously, we're just going to kind of reject it straight away.
Yeah.
But I kind of think, like, when I'm writing goals and affirmations, I kind of think of it like I'm writing codes for myself. I'm like programming myself. So the more I write it, like through repetition, because repetition is, one of the laws of learning. Like, just through time, you will become that. Going back to this, you become what you think about. So if you're saying, I am abundant, I allow money to effortlessly flow into my life, the more that you're saying that and repeating that each day through repetition, eventually that will become your reality, even if you don't fully believe it at first. But you do have to back it up with action as well, because that's mindset, but you need the action, which sometimes people miss.
I was going to say, yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people misconstrued The Secret.
Yeah.
A lot of people read this book and thought, wow, all I have to do is sit there and visualize, and a bucket load of money is going to just turn up, the magnificent house and the magnificent car. And it doesn't quite work that way. It's all about, as you said, you've definitely got to fight with actions. Daniel, just as we wind up, so someone's coming to you and they're earning good money, but they can see that they're not getting to where they want to be, or they're coming to you, they're just about to start their careers and they want to be on the right path.
Yeah.
We know you got to read.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what you want to get better in, you got to read.
Yeah.
You've got to associate with the right people.
Definitely. Okay, just say you just signed up to work with me, Con.
Yep.
One of the books that I always get my clients to read, I gift it to them, is Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. That's my favorite, and I think it's the best book of money mindset out there. Really easy to read, but really, really powerful. So I would get you to read that, just to start bringing your awareness. The second thing I would do, I'd probably, now that I've got this challenge, I would get you to do this 21-day challenge, because of how many great habits you will build through this. Because that's going to bring conscious awareness to your spending habits. But at the same time, you're going to start, thinking about a goal that you're working towards. Because at the end of the day, like, mindset's important as well, but you've got to know where you're going. So by setting a direction and then having daily habits each day to move towards that, that's how you make massive progress over a period of time with those small little actions. So I'd probably say I'd get you to read that book. I'd get you to do this challenge and just see what happens from that, because there's really powerful habits in that challenge.
What you mentioned in that challenge is definitely powerful, and there is a lot of power in writing down. Gratitude is a big part. Daniel, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. We'll put all your details up in the posts, and indeed the notes of the show. And anybody out there, ladies and gentlemen, as I've met Daniel in person, this is not something that we've run into each other on social media and we've decided to connect and do a podcast. I know Daniel personally, and he's an absolute top human being and really, really cares for his clients. So if anybody wants to talk money, Daniel is the man to talk money to. Daniel, any passing words for our listeners and viewers before we wind up?
Oh, no, I appreciate the kind words there, Con. And I want to give you a plug as well, Con, because as soon as I met Con at Toastmasters, and as soon as I saw Con speak, I was like, wow, this guy is bloody good. So you're an incredible speaker, Con. So I wanted to give you a quick plug. But my last words I'll just leave is, like, in life with your money and stuff as well, the main thing is, the only prerequisite for a goal is, do you really want it? So if you're listening to this, just work out what you really want and make a decision to go after it. And then the steps will start to unfold. So that's my parting words.
Sage words. Thanks, Daniel. Ladies and gentlemen, listeners and viewers, my name is Con. This has been A Cuppa with a Conversationalist. And until next time, bye for now.